Cut off all useless thoughts and words, and all hindrances disappear. Instead of talking and thinking, Sangsong suggests that we cut off thoughts and words. My old teacher, Son Sanim, during koan interviews, used to say to students, "Cut off all thinking." I enjoy seeing the continuity of the Zen tradition in small examples like this. Cutting off thinking differs from ceasing to think. Cutting off names the gesture of non-clinging. If one thinks of clinging as ties that bind, cords of rope restricting one's inherently moving nature, then one can understand this cutting off as a gesture of liberation. Paradoxically, ceasing to think constitutes a form of thinking, a form of watching, a form of controlling the mind. If one puts a great deal of effort into the task, one can, during some forms of meditation, cease to think, just as one can hold one's breath or go on a fast. However, as soon as one stops the process of ceasing, thinking resumes, just as breathing will automatically resume as soon as one ceases to actively restrain it. Cutting off of thoughts and words means to cease to identify with thoughts and words, to know that the stream of cognition does not constitute a self. We cut off thoughts and words when we simply let them move freely through the spaciousness of mind, neither beckoning them nor abandoning them. The spaciousness of mind has room for all thought, and if one meditates long enough, all thoughts will appear, and they will disappear. One's true nature does not manifest as a thought. One's true nature does not manifest as a word. In the free release of meditation, we cut off all our efforts to construct a self from the ephemeral stream of cognition. Why should we do this? Because when we do so, all hindrances disappear. When we cling to thoughts and words, this means choosing and rejecting, constantly watching and checking the mind, approving and disapproving of its contents. Under such circumstances, the mind becomes a vast complex of hurdles, obstacles, and traps that we cautiously or not so cautiously try to control. In this primal gesture of clinging to mind, we become alienated from our own mind as it constantly brings contents to the surface that we do not want. The mind becomes a hindrance, constantly bugging us as we try to reform it, purify it, turn it into something other than what we have. Strangely, when we cut off thoughts and words, letting them breathe in vastness, the mind now becomes a resource rather than a hindrance. Like our hands and our feet, like our friends and our food, the mind now exists as a function of the interconnectedness of all things. And just like the rest of existence, the mind now supports us and becomes a blessing rather than a hindrance. This transformation of mind occurs only when we cease to think of thoughts and words as our thoughts and words. When we cease to think of thoughts and words as our thoughts and words, we cease to think of thoughts and words as our thoughts and words only when we cut off our clinging to mind and give up the attempt to hold back the river of consciousness.